Welcome back to Astrophotography Japan. This is a follow-up video to the prior one, which was titled The Ultimate Portable Rig. Shown here is that imaging rig, which I previously, in that video, mostly focused on the mini TeSeek11 Harmonic Drive equatorial mount. Briefly, these are the details of the miniature rig configuration, which overall, not including the tripod, weighs less than 5 kilograms. The TeSeek11 equatorial mount itself weighs only 1.3 kilograms, but that does not include the base. For that, I used my old William Optics Latitude wedge. I bought this mount on AliExpress during a campaign and paid less than $400 for it, including shipping. Initially, I was frustrated because I could not get it to work. It simply would not connect to my ASI585MC Air despite selecting OnStep for the operating system. I just kept getting error messages. On a hunch, I went out to an electronics store and bought a high-quality USB-A to USB-C data cable and tried that. Lo and behold, problem solved. I think my other cables were not bad, they were just unable to meet the data transfer requirement. So just be aware of the potential need for high-quality wiring with this mount. This is a list of conclusions from the previous episode I published regarding the ultimate portable rig. Some of the issues shown here in yellow print were related to guiding, hence the motivation for this deep dive guiding performance video. Here is a study plan on how I would like to further test this mount and address some of these issues. Of course, it all starts with a proper setup of the portable rig, a good focus, and a good polar alignment. Then I plan to select stars at various sky locations, perform guiding star calibrations at each location, and record all the guiding data. I first did this while guiding with the ASI585MC Air dual sensor camera, and then switched my data collection to a classic style guide scope and camera optical assembly. Why? Just out of curiosity. Of course, ultimately, what I wanted to do was compare guiding performance between these two different optical assemblies to see if there were any differences. Finally, at the end of this video, I will address the issues I had previously with the Meridian Flip. And that was a quick and easy fix. Okay, to start with, let's look at these two optical tube assemblies in more detail. The OTA on the left employs the William Optics 32mm uniguider scope with the ASI120mm mini guide camera. I have routinely used this setup for the last 3 years or more for guiding most of my telescope rigs from 135mm up to nearly 1400mm focal lengths. My ultimate portable rig on the right uses the imaging scope, the ASIAIR FMA 180 Pro, with a dual sensor camera. One of the sensors, the guide sensor, is actually the same hardware found in the ASI220mm mini guide camera. The spec data for both of the guiding sensors are shown here. The 220 sensor is larger, has greater resolution, lower noise, and higher quantum efficiency. By all measures, it is a superior sensor. But the question remains, packed together in the same camera with the ASI585MC Air, does the 220mm camera sensor actually perform better in guiding? Let's do a head-to-head comparison by putting these on the same rig using the TeSeek11 equatorial mount. In the ASI585MC Air camera, the 220mm mini sensor is located peripheral to the main imaging sensor, as you can see here. In Astrophotography Japan episode 58, I showed that the FMA 180 Pro's projected image circle completely encompasses the guide chip, so this camera and the ASIAIR astrograph lens are indeed compatible. Here is the rig setup I used on this particular night. The external guide scope OTA was mounted on the top of my ultimate portable rig and connected to the camera via a USB-C cable. So basically, there are two potential guide cameras available to the ASIAIR. If you look at the guide menu control panel in the ASIAIR application, you can see that either of the two guide cameras can be selected. So let's get started. When connecting to the ASIAIR on the initial screen, you can select your camera's focal lengths and mount before pressing enter. Here you can see me scrolling through the menu to find OnStep, which is the operating system used to control the TeSeek11 mount. And after entering, you can verify this connection on the Mount menu page as well. In the interest of time, here is a list of the setup actions I performed prior to data capture. This is no different than any other night of preparation for deep sky imaging. For guiding data collection, the first star I selected was Fomalhaut. It is shown here near to some high-tension power lines seen in this photo. To begin with, I used the ASI585MC Air guide sensor and began by clearing the calibration and then selecting a star for a new calibration. Automatically, then it completed the calibration and started guiding. The constant display of active guiding data is shown here in sped up format. This was captured using the screen video recording function on my Samsung SmartPad. Later, when playing this video on my iMac computer, I could take static screen capture snippets and assemble a continuous tracing like that which you see here. The numbers displayed at the end represent the average values of the last 200 guiding corrections made by the mount. That is what the X:200 designation actually means. And yeah, I counted the data points to verify this fact. Each continuous tracing you will see on this video is around 400 to 600 corrections, one adjustment made every half second. So that is about 3.5 to 6 minutes of guiding data per test. Remember now, in addition to the 220mm Air sensor, we also have the William Optics guide scope with the ASI120mm Mini as well. So after collecting the 220mm Air data, I stopped guiding and switched to the 120mm Mini guide scope. It was necessary to do another guiding calibration with this camera, but then I proceeded to collect data with this classic guiding OTA again for another 3 to 5 minutes at that same sky position. And here is that data. These were not taken on the same guide stars, but rather on the same region of sky around the star Fomalhaut. This star was east of the meridian in the south-southeast sky at around 24 degrees altitude at that time. On this star, the 120mm Mini Classic OTA guided slightly better as judged by a visual comparison and the final X200 frame guide numbers. Note the yellow arrow is stretched out to the 8 arcsecond line on either side of the midline. These yellow arrows are exactly the same size and provide a reference dimension for aligning the guide tracings very close to the same scale. I think it is clear that the tracings on the lower line are tighter than the tracings on the upper line, and the final X200 frame average values show that the 120mm Mini had an average RMS error total value of 1.6, whereas the 220mm Air sensor had an average RMS error total value of 2.05. Okay, this is just one comparison. The upper tracing had a few areas of higher spikes, which might be explained by wind or other factors. So I decided it was necessary to repeat this process at least several more times. In fact, I repeated the analysis 4 more times, each time switching to another star in a different area of the sky, both east and west of the meridian. And I will show you all of those data. Here is the next set of data comparing the two guiding sensors, which was taken around the star ASIAIR. For the lower 120 mm Mini, the guiding was so consistent and accurate that the guiding scale only extended to 4 arcseconds above and below the midline. But again, I normalized the vertical scale as indicated by the yellow arrows. Here again, the classic style guide scope and camera OTA seemed to work slightly better. And this is near to the star Deneb Algadi. It is located west of the meridian, like ASIAIR, at this time. Here once again, the classic style guide scope and camera OTA seemed to work a bit better. After 3 in a row, I began to wonder, could this be a contrast or focus issue on the guide stars? So before I did the last 2 comparisons, I spent a little time to do an extra good job of refocusing the guiding sensors and adjusting the gain to get more clear and round and bright stars. This slide shows some typical screenshot snippets. And here are the last 2 data sets. This one was back east of the meridian on the star Baten Kaitos. And this was back to ASIAIR again, west of the meridian. And this is a summary of the final results. Firstly, the RMS total error values all fall within a range from 1.03 to 2.13. That is consistent with my prior experiences with the TeSeek11 mount, and perhaps even a little better. But what is surprising is that in all cases, the classic style guiding OTA setup outperformed the ASI585MC Air guiding results. On average, it was about 30% lower in average total RMS error. And this was unexpected for me, especially since the guide chip specifications on the 220 mm Mini are superior among nearly all sensor parameters. The only reason I can think of to explain this is perhaps the 220 mm sensor is located at the edge of the field of view, whereas the 120 mm Mini sensor is positioned directly in the center. If you care to speculate or have any other potential ideas regarding this observation, please share it in the comments. Now, referring back to our study plan, there is one last issue to address: automated guiding restart after the Meridian Flip. This issue is quick and easy to address. In my previous video, a viewer was quick to point out that one setting on the ASIAIR will correct the problem I was having. Under Guide Settings on the ASIAIR is a switch that I never noticed before and never used: Auto Flip Deck Output after Meridian. Apparently you must have this switch engaged to use any OnStep mounts like the TeSeek11. When you touch the question mark to get information on this setting, it clearly points out that only OnStep driven and a few other mounts require this data output reversal to be engaged. I did not do that previously, so it is no wonder that guiding did not work immediately after a Meridian Flip. So to test this, I went to my ASIAIR sky map and picked a sky region just barely east of the meridian to reposition my field of view. I then did a new guiding calibration with the ASI220mm Air sensor and set up a repetitive imaging capture routine taking 30-second images. Image capture and guiding ran until it automatically halted itself a few minutes before reaching the meridian. Here you can see a sped-up screen capture and a video of the rig synchronized to the same timeline. Following the Meridian Flip, within a few seconds, the guiding indeed reinitiated on its own accord, remaining reasonably stable, with image captures soon re-engaged, taking 30-second subframes. Here are the first 4 images taken after the Meridian Flip. All 4 of them appear to be excellent subframes with no star trailing. Voila, it worked. But just to be sure, I repeated the Meridian Flip again at another random position east of the line and verified the flip and reestablishment of guiding and imaging one more time. Okay, let's summarize what I learned and presented. 1. With the imaging rig shown here and using the ASI585MC Air for guiding, the performance seemed to be consistently between 1 and 2.5 arcseconds RMS error. Pretty much the same as I reported last time. There were no drop stars or guiding artifacts encountered all night during any of the 12 to 15 runs I implemented. And as I said in the last video, this level of guiding performance appears to be fine for my small rig, which has a theoretical maximum resolution of 3.3 arcseconds per pixel. It's a good match. Also, just to let you know, I have seen some guiding spikes on windy nights. The TeSeek11 may be a harmonic drive design, but don't expect miracles. You still need to take precautions against the winds. Number 2 here is just a comment for new users. If your TeSeek11 consistently fails to communicate with your ASIAIR, try switching to a higher quality data cable. For me, this was the solution to some initial frustrations. 3. Pay attention to focus and guide star shape and brightness to be sure guiding performance is optimal. Be aware of the possibility that classical guide scopes and cameras may actually provide better performance than dual sensor cameras. 4. Under guide settings, there are 2 critical adjustments that you may need to make for optimal guiding performance. First is to activate auto flip deck output after Meridian to get guiding to initiate properly after the Meridian Flip when using the TeSeek11 mount. And second is to set guide stability to higher tolerance numbers if required. If your stability threshold is too low or your settle time threshold is too long, you may have lengthy delays in restarting guiding after a dithering event. Shown here are the settings I use for the TeSeek11 mount. And finally, I want to pass along a tidbit of information I heard from a viewer and a user of the TeSeek11 mount. They claim to have burned out a TeSeek11 computer board due to a power surge coming from the ASI585MC Air camera. That person now currently powers the TeSeek mount directly from the battery. I felt it was important to mention this single observation, but have nothing more to say about it. Overall, based on the data presented here and my new experiences with the mini TeSeek11 harmonic drive mount, I have become even more positive about this mount and its reliability and performance. It's not as beefy and as stable as my higher capacity AM5 mount from ZWO, and it does not seem to match the sub-arcsecond guiding accuracy that I get quite frequently from the AM5. But for smaller imaging rigs, the TeSeek11's portability and low cost and performance is very impressive. The only thing I still don't know about it is performance longevity. Only time will tell. Thanks for hanging on to the end of this rather long and detailed video. I appreciate your interest. Gazing at the night skies here in Yokohama, I'm JPAstroGuy. My name is Paul Cheesegel, and thank you for watching Astrophotography Japan.